The courtroom is tense, every bench filled, every whisper sharp. The air hums with the weight of judgment. At the defense table sits Captain Maya Johnson, her navy blue uniform pressed, her pilot wings gleaming faintly under the lights. She keeps her chin high, her posture steady, even as eyes bore into her. She's not here on trial. She's here as a witness, a decorated Air Force pilot called to testify in a civil case against the city. But her very presence, black, female, successful, seems to ignite anger in some corners of the room. Among the officers lining the back wall stands Sergeant Frank Doyle, a cop known more for his temper than his service. His jaw is clenched, his fists balled. He watches Maya with open contempt, muttering under his breath, "Doesn't belong in that uniform." The judge clears his throat. "Captain Johnson, you may step down." Maya rises, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she approaches the witness stand. The courtroom door creaks open, cameras flashing, reporters flooding in, eager for a glimpse of the decorated pilot whose story has gripped the city. But then, it happens. As Maya passes Doyle, he sneers. His leg shoots out violently. Crack! The kick lands square against Maya's side. She stumbles forward, gasps filling the room. A uniformed officer, a decorated pilot, assaulted in open court. For a moment, silence. Then chaos. Reporters shout. Cameras flash wildly. People rise to their feet. The judge slams his gavel, voice booming. "Order! Order!" Maya steadies herself, her eyes burning with fury but her voice calm. "Did everyone see that?" The room explodes with noise. He kicked her! On camera, in front of everyone!" Doyle smirks, his chest puffing out. "What? She tripped. Don't blame me if the girl can't stand straight." The words ignite fire. Maya turns slowly, her voice sharp, every syllable like steel. "Girl? I've logged over 2,000 hours in the cockpit. I've flown missions you can't even imagine. And you," she points at Doyle, her hands steady, "just assaulted a United States Air Force captain." Gasps fill the courtroom. The cameras zoom in. The story is no longer about a civil case. It's about this moment, this assault, this truth. The prosecutor slams his fist on the table. "Your Honor, this is outrageous. A decorated pilot attacked in your courtroom? This cannot go unanswered." The judge's face is pale, his gavel slamming again and again. "Bailiff, restrain that officer immediately." But the bailiff hesitates. Doyle smirks wider, as if he believes his badge will protect him from consequences. Then the back doors swing open. A hush falls over the room as two figures step in, senior officers in dress uniforms, medals gleaming. The first speaks, his voice calm but cutting. "That girl you just kicked, Sergeant Doyle, is Captain Maya Johnson, combat pilot, Bronze Star recipient, and my commanding officer." The courtroom erupts. Reporters surge forward, microphones raised, cameras flashing brighter than ever. Doyle's smirk evaporates, his face draining of color. Maya doesn't move. She simply stands tall, her presence louder than the chaos. The truth is revealed, and the world is watching. The courtroom is chaos. Reporters yell questions, their microphones thrust forward. Camera shutters click like machine gun fire. The judge slams his gavel so hard it sounds like the wood might splinter. "Order! This is a court of law, not a circus!" he shouts. But the circus has already begun, and at its center is Captain Maya Johnson, decorated pilot, war hero, and now the victim of an assault by a man in uniform. Doyle, red-faced and sweating, tries to puff himself up again. "It was a mistake. She tripped." Everyone's blowing this out of proportion. Maya doesn't even look at him. She straightens her jacket, smooths the crease in her uniform, and lifts her chin. The room feels her authority, her discipline forged through years of combat flights. "The only mistake," she says firmly, "is thinking you could lay a hand on me and walk away from it." Gasps ripple through the crowd. Reporters scribble furiously. The senior officer who had just entered steps forward, his voice carrying across the room. "For the record, Captain Johnson is not just a pilot. She is the first black female to lead an Air Force combat squadron. She has flown missions over hostile territory, saved lives, and represents this country with honor." He turns to the judge. "And she was just assaulted in your courtroom by an officer sworn to protect and serve." The judge leans back, the weight of the moment pressing heavy on his shoulders. His gavel trembles slightly in his hand. "Bailiff, remove Sergeant Doyle at once." This time the bailiff doesn't hesitate. Two deputies step forward, gripping Doyle's arms. He thrashes, shouting, "You can't do this, I'm a cop! I've been on the force 15 years! Maya's eyes lock on his, and in 15 seconds you destroyed your career. The deputies drag him out, his voice fading into the hallway. Reporters chase after, cameras rolling, the story growing bigger with every passing second. Inside, the courtroom settles into a stunned silence. All eyes turn back to Maya. She doesn't shrink under the weight. She never has. The prosecutor clears his throat. "Captain Johnson, are you well enough to continue your testimony?" She nods. "Yes, I've faced worse than one man's hate." Her words strike deeper than any gavel. For the next hour, Maya answers questions with calm precision, her voice steady, her knowledge undeniable. But beneath it all, the assault lingers, pulsing like an open wound. Every reporter in the room knows the real story isn't just her testimony, it's what just happened. By the time court adjourns, the footage has already spread. Outside, the streets are filled with protesters. Some hold signs with Maya's name, others chant for justice. The video of Doyle's kick plays on every screen, every phone, every news broadcast. Leonard, Maya's attorney, leans toward her as they leave the courtroom. "You realize you just became the face of something much bigger than this case, right?" Maya exhales, her posture unbroken. "I didn't ask for it." He shakes his head. History doesn't ask, it chooses. Outside the courthouse, the flash of cameras is blinding. Reporters swarm. "Captain Johnson, how do you feel after being attacked in open court? Do you think Sergeant Doyle represents systemic racism in the police force? What message do you have for young black women watching this unfold?" Maya pauses at the top of the courthouse steps. For a moment, the noise swirls around her, chaotic and hungry. She raises a hand. Silence falls. Her voice is strong, every word deliberate. "What happened today was not just about me. It was about the uniform I wear, the service I've given, and the respect that should be given to every man and woman who serves this country. Hate will not silence me, not here, not ever." The crowd erupts, protesters cheer, reporters shout follow-ups, cameras zoom in. But not everyone is cheering. Across the street, a cluster of officers watch silently. Among them are Doyle's allies, men who've shared his locker room, his bar stools, his beliefs. One mutters, "She just put a target on her back." Another smirks. "Then maybe someone needs to remind her where she stands." The threat hangs heavy, unnoticed by the cheering crowd. Later that night, Maya sits in her hotel room, uniform jacket folded neatly over the chair. She stares at the television as her own face fills the screen. The footage plays again. The kick, the stumble, the recovery, her words cutting Doyle down. She presses her fingers to her temple. She's flown through combat zones, faced missiles and gunfire, but this is a different kind of battlefield. Her phone buzzes. A message from her commanding officer. "Proud of you. The Air Force stands behind you. Stay strong." Another buzz, this time from her younger sister. "I cried when I saw you stand tall. You're not alone." Maya exhales slowly, her shoulders heavy but her resolve unbroken. She whispers to herself, "Let them come. I've faced worse skies than this." And outside, the city chants her name. The morning headlines are brutal. Every newspaper, every news site, every TV broadcast leads with the same footage. A police sergeant kicking a decorated black female pilot in the middle of a courtroom. The video loops endlessly. Maya stumbling forward, gasps filling the room, Doyle's smug smirk. Maya sits at the edge of her hotel bed, the glow of the screen painting her face. Her phone buzzes non-stop. Texts from fellow pilots, commanders, strangers she's never met. Some messages are supportive, others venomous. One text reads, "You're an inspiration." Another, "Stay strong, Captain. My daughter watched you last night and said she wants to fly someday." Then another pings, "You should have stayed in the kitchen." Maya exhales, steadying herself. She's learned long ago that serving in uniform doesn't shield her from hate. But now the whole world is watching, and the storm is only growing. Downstairs, her attorney Leonard waits with a folder under his arm. "Captain, you ready?" She straightens her jacket. "Always." The courthouse is swarmed with reporters when they arrive. Protesters wave signs. "Respect our heroes." "Justice for Maya." "End police abuse." The chant is deafening. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Inside, the courtroom is tense. Doyle is absent, removed under federal custody, but his shadow lingers. His allies sit stiffly, glaring daggers at Maya. The judge clears his throat. Captain Johnson, please return to the stand. Maya rises, her heels echoing across the polished floor. Cameras lock on her every move. She sits tall, hands folded neatly, eyes calm. The prosecutor begins. Captain Johnson, can you state your record of service for the court? Maya's voice is steady. I am Captain Maya Johnson, United States Air Force. I have served 12 years. I am a combat pilot with over 2,000 hours of flight time, including missions in Afghanistan, Iraq, and classified operations overseas. I am a Bronze Star recipient and have commanded a squadron in active combat. Gasps ripple through the room. The credentials are undeniable, the honor unshakable. The prosecutor nods. And do you believe Sergeant Doyle's actions yesterday were an isolated incident? Maya's gaze hardens. No, his actions reflect a deeper issue, an assumption that my uniform, my service, and my worth mean less because of the color of my skin and the fact that I am a woman. The room is silent, every word hanging heavy. Across the aisle, Doyle's attorney shifts uncomfortably. He rises for cross-examination. Captain Johnson, you claim Sergeant Doyle kicked you intentionally. Isn't it possible that in the chaos of a crowded courtroom, you simply tripped? Maya's eyes lock on his. I've landed jets on a carrier deck in the middle of a storm. I know the difference between losing balance and being kicked, and so does everyone who saw it. The crowd murmurs. The judge bangs the gavel for silence, but the point is made. After court adjourns, Maya exits into a storm of microphones. Reporters shout questions, their cameras hungry. She raises her hand again, commanding silence. My service is not up for debate. My worth is not up for debate. What is at stake here is respect, not just for me, but for every man and woman who wears a uniform. No one, not even a cop in a courtroom, is above the law. The crowd erupts in cheers, but not everyone is cheering. Across the street, Doyle's allies gather in hushed conversation. One officer mutters, "She's making us all look weak." Another growls, "Then maybe we remind her who really runs this city." The threat hangs heavy in the night air. Later, back at her hotel, Maya sits by the window, watching protesters march with candles, chanting her name. She presses her palms together, whispering softly to herself, I didn't ask for this fight, but I'll finish it. Her phone buzzes again, a call from her commanding officer. His voice is firm. Maya, you're not alone. The Air Force stands with you. And tomorrow, so will I. She closes her eyes, her chest heavy but strong. Outside, the chants roll on, growing louder, refusing to be silenced. And Maya Johnson, once just a pilot, has become something more, the face of a battle bigger than herself. The following day begins with a storm of headlines. Every major outlet runs the same story. Air Force captain assaulted in court by cop. Talk shows debate it, radio hosts scream about it, and social media burns with hashtags. #justice. For Maya, #respect. Our heroes, #Doyle exposed. In Riverton, the courthouse is under siege, not from violence but from crowds. Protesters line the steps, their chants rattling windows. Signs bob above the sea of people. Our soldiers deserve respect. No more racist cops. We stand with Captain Johnson. Maya watches from the car as Leonard drives them toward the courthouse. Her hands rest in her lap, her uniform pressed and perfect. Leon glances at her in the mirror. You ready for this? Maya exhales slowly. I've flown through missile fire. I'll survive microphones. The car pulls up. Cameras swarm immediately, voices rising like a tidal wave. Captain Johnson, do you feel safe? Do you plan to sue Sergeant Doyle personally? What message do you want America to hear? Maya pauses on the courthouse steps. The noise swirls, but she stands tall. My message is simple. No one is above the law. Not Doyle, not anyone. Justice belongs to all of us. The crowd roars. Reporters shove forward, but the bailiffs usher Maya inside. The courtroom is more crowded than ever. Families of veterans sit shoulder to shoulder with activists, their faces tight with expectation. At the prosecution's table, Leonard flips through papers, his jaw tight. At the defense table sits Doyle's lawyer, pale and exhausted. Doyle himself is absent again, confined to holding. But his absence doesn't erase his shadow. The judge calls the court to order. We will continue with testimony. Captain Johnson, please return to the stand. Maya steps forward. Her heels click against the marble, each step steady. She sits, adjusts the microphone, and folds her hands. The prosecutor begins. Captain Johnson, yesterday you described Sergeant Doyle's assault. Today, we'd like you to speak about your career to establish the record. Maya nods. I joined the Air Force at 19. I graduated top of my class in flight school. I've flown combat missions over Afghanistan and Iraq. I've rescued downed pilots and led sorties under fire. I've buried friends who didn't make it home, and I've done it all with pride. Her voice doesn't shake. The courtroom is silent, the weight of her words pressing down. The prosecutor leans closer. And in all your years of service, has anyone, enemy or ally, ever disrespected you the way Sergeant Doyle did yesterday? Maya's gaze hardens. No, not once. The room exhales collectively. Then Doyle's lawyer rises, fumbling with his papers. Captain Johnson, with all due respect, my client has served his city for 15 years. Isn't it possible that his actions were misunderstood? That emotions ran high? Maya tilts her head, calm but fierce. Your client kicked me in front of a federal judge, a room of reporters, and half the city. That's not misunderstanding. That's hate. The lawyer falters, his words shriveling. The crowd murmurs, reporters scribble. The judge slams the gavel. Order! Court adjourns for the day, but the damage is done. Outside, the footage of Maya's testimony spreads instantly. Her words loop on television screens, her face plastered across headlines. Back at her hotel, Maya sits by the window, watching the glow of protesters' candles outside. Leonard drops into a chair across from her. You realize you've become more than a witness now, right? You're a symbol. The military backs you, the public rallies behind you. This is bigger than Doyle. Maya rubs her temples. I never wanted to be a symbol. Leonard shrugs. History doesn't care what we want. Her phone buzzes again, this time a message from her squadron. We're watching, ma'am. You make us proud. She sets the phone down, her chest heavy with both pride and pressure. Meanwhile, across town, Doyle sits in his cell, rage simmering. His lawyer paces nervously. Frank, you need to cooperate. The footage is damning. The more you fight, the worse it gets. Doyle sneers. They think they broke me. They think one kick ruins me? I'll show them what happens when you take a man's badge. His voice drips with venom and his fists clench. Even caged, his hate burns. Back at the courthouse, Maya stares at her reflection in the mirror. Her uniform gleams under the lamplight. She whispers softly, steadying herself. I've faced worse skies than this. And outside, the chants rise again, louder, refusing to fade. Justice! 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 The next morning, the courthouse feels more like a fortress than a hall of justice. Metal barricades line the steps, police officers in riot gear stand shoulder to shoulder, and yet the chants outside still cut through the air. Justice! 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 Captain Maya Johnson rides silently in the back of the black sedan. Leonard, her attorney, flips through his notes. He glances at her reflection in the window. Today's key. They're going to try to flip the story, paint Doyle as a cop under pressure, a man pushed too far. We can't let them. Maya doesn't look away from the glass. Pressure doesn't excuse hate. Pressure doesn't put a boot into my ribs. Leonard nods grimly. Then let's remind them of that. When Maya enters the courthouse, the roar of reporters and protesters swells. Cameras flash, voices shout, but she doesn't falter. She walks tall, her pilot's uniform sharp, every detail perfect. Each step is measured, like she's marching down a runway toward a fighter jet. Inside, the courtroom is packed tighter than ever. Veterans in dress uniforms fill the benches. Families hold small flags, their faces tense. At the prosecution's table, Leonard organizes documents with precision. Across the aisle, Doyle's seat is empty again, but his lawyer sits rigid, sweat already beading on his brow. The judge calls the session to order. Today, we will review testimony and evidence related to Sergeant Doyle's conduct. The prosecutor rises. Your Honor, we intend to show that Sergeant Doyle's actions were not only violent, but rooted in prejudice, and that Captain Johnson's record speaks for itself. The lights dim slightly as a projector whirs to life. Footage plays on the wall, the infamous kick. Gasps ripple again through the room, even though everyone has seen it a dozen times by now. Maya stumbles, steadies herself, glares back at Doyle. His smirk freezes forever on the screen. The prosecutor lets the silence linger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not an accident. This is not a misunderstanding. This is hate on display in a courtroom. The defense lawyer rises quickly. Objection. That's interpretation, not fact. The judge narrows his eyes. Overruled. The video speaks for itself. The footage loops one more time before the screen goes dark. Maya takes the stand again. Leonard approaches, his voice calm. Captain Johnson, what went through your mind in that moment? She pauses, her eyes steady. That I had fought enemies overseas, defended this country with my life, and yet here, at home, an officer in uniform saw me as less than human. That's what I thought. The words slice through the courtroom. Reporters scribble furiously, cameras flash. The defense lawyer rises, desperate. Captain Johnson, isn't it true that tensions in the courtroom were high? Isn't it possible Sergeant Doyle simply lost his balance? Maya doesn't blink. If Doyle lost his balance, why did he smile after he kicked me? The lawyer freezes. The crowd murmurs. The judge bangs the gavel for silence. The session adjourns hours later, but the damage is done. Outside, the footage of Maya's words spreads like wildfire. Talk shows air clips, headlines scream, pilot destroys defense with one line. At her hotel, Maya watches the coverage. Leonard sits across from her, shaking his head with a small smile. You didn't just testify, you dismantled him. Maya sips her water, her face unreadable. Words are bullets too, sometimes sharper than steel. But across town, Doyle stews in his holding cell. The walls feel like they're closing in. He mutters to himself, pacing like a caged animal. She thinks she's untouchable. She thinks cameras will protect her, but cameras turn off. Crowds go home. And then what? His lawyer enters, dropping a stack of papers on the table. Frank, it's over. They're indicting you. Best thing you can do is take a plea. Doyle snarls. A plea? You want me to crawl? No, I'll drag them all down before I beg. The lawyer lowers his voice. If you keep talking like this, you'll hang yourself. Doyle leans forward, eyes wild. Better to hang than to kneel. Back at the courthouse, Maya receives a call from her commanding officer. His voice is firm but supportive. Captain, your testimony is resonating. The Air Force stands firmly behind you. Whatever happens in that courtroom, know this. You've already won something bigger. Maya exhales, her shoulders heavy. Bigger feels heavier. The officer chuckles. That's because you're carrying more than yourself now. You're carrying every woman who's been doubted, every soldier who's been disrespected. Don't drop it. She nods silently, even though he can't see it. That night, Maya sits by the window, watching protesters march with candles. Their chants roll upward, echoing against the hotel glass. She whispers to herself, I've flown through storms before. I'll fly through this one too. But deep inside, she knows this battle is unlike any she's faced. And tomorrow, the storm will only grow louder. The sun rises over the courthouse, but it doesn't bring calm. Instead, it brings more people. By mid-morning, the steps are a sea of bodies. Veterans in uniform, families waving flags, young women holding posters with Maya's face on them. The chants roll like thunder. Justice for Maya! Justice for Maya! Inside her hotel room, Maya watches the live feed on TV. The sight is surreal. Her name, her image, plastered across banners and screens. She tightens the buttons of her uniform jacket. Every time she wears it, she remembers her oath, to serve, to protect, to lead. Today, that uniform feels like armor. Leonard knocks on the door. Ready? She adjusts her cap, her reflection sharp in the mirror. Let's finish this. The ride to the courthouse is slow, the car inching through crowds. People wave as they pass, some saluting, others shouting encouragement. Maya lowers the window slightly, raising a hand in acknowledgement. The cheers swell. When she enters the courthouse, cameras explode in flashes. Reporters cry out questions, but she doesn't stop. She walks tall, every step measured, until she reaches the courtroom doors. Inside, the air is suffocating with tension. Doyle is there this time, flanked by officers. He looks disheveled, his smirk forced. Whispers ripple as he's led to the defense table. The judge calls for order, but it barely cuts through the noise. The prosecutor begins. Your Honor, today we present final testimony regarding Sergeant Doyle's actions and intent. He gestures toward Maya. Captain Johnson, please return to the stand. Maya walks to the witness chair, her heels echoing like drum beats. She sits, folds her hands, and meets the prosecutor's gaze. Captain Johnson, he begins, do you believe Sergeant Doyle's attack on you was spontaneous, or do you believe it reflects something deeper? Maya's eyes shift toward Doyle, who glares back. Her voice is clear, steady. It wasn't spontaneous, it was contempt. He looked at me and saw something he couldn't accept. A black woman in uniform standing taller than his hate. That's why he kicked me. Gasps ripple. Reporters scribble furiously. Cameras zoom in. The prosecutor nods. And what do you want this court? and this country to take from your testimony. Maya leans forward slightly. That respect is not optional. That service, sacrifice, and honor are not diminished by race or gender. That no badge, no uniform, gives anyone the right to strip another of their dignity. The courtroom is silent, her words settling like stone. Doyle's lawyer rises quickly. Captain Johnson, isn't it true you've been portrayed as a hero while my client has been vilified? Isn't this trial less about truth and more about spectacle? Maya turns her gaze on him, calm but unyielding. If telling the truth makes me a hero, then what does lying make your client? The lawyer freezes. The gallery erupts in murmurs. The judge slams the gavel. Order! The defense sits, visibly shaken. Doyle clenches his fists, his jaw tight. He mutters something under his breath, but the microphones catch it. She should have stayed in her place. The words ripple like a shockwave. The gallery gasps, reporters leap to their feet, cameras whir. The prosecutor seizes the moment. There it is, Your Honor, not just action but intent. Sergeant Doyle's hate is not hidden, it's his truth. The judge's face darkens. He bangs the gavel. This court will not tolerate such outbursts. Sergeant Doyle, you are in contempt. Officers move toward him, but Doyle thrashes. She ruined me, she made me a joke, and you're all letting her. His voice cracks, desperate. I was the one with power. Two deputies restrain him, dragging him from the courtroom. The door slams shut behind him. Silence lingers, heavy and absolute. Maya sits still, her composure unbroken. She doesn't gloat, doesn't smile. She simply straightens her jacket. The prosecutor turns to the judge. Your Honor, the state rests. Court adjourns in a flurry of noise. Outside, the footage spreads instantly. Doyle's hateful words, his violent thrashing, his downfall caught live. That evening, Maya sits in her hotel room watching the replay. Protesters cheer outside, their chants shaking the walls. Justice! 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 Leonard enters with a tired smile. He buried himself. You just had to stand. Maya exhales slowly. Standing is the hardest part. Her phone buzzes. A message from her squadron lights up the screen. You've faced storms before, ma'am. This one's almost over. We're with you. Maya sets the phone down, her chest heavy but proud. She whispers to herself, almost over. But not done. Because tomorrow the verdict will come, and the world will be watching. The city wakes with one question on its lips. What will the court decide? News anchors speak urgently into cameras. The Doyle case has become a national flashpoint. Today, the jury will deliberate, and a verdict could come as early as this afternoon. Outside the courthouse, the crowd is larger than ever. Veterans stand shoulder to shoulder with activists, students with clergy, all chanting the same word, justice, justice, justice. Inside, Captain Maya Johnson sits in a quiet waiting room. Her uniform is perfect, her posture steady, but her heart pounds like a drum. She stares at the floor until Leonard, her attorney, enters with 2 cups of coffee. He sets one in front of her. You don't have to be made of steel, you know, he says gently. Maya exhales. Steel bends. I can't afford to bend. Leonard sits across from her. Then don't think of yourself as steel. Think of yourself as flight, untouchable, untethered. That's what you've always been. She allows herself a faint smile, spoken like a man who's never pulled 9 Gs in a barrel roll. Before Leonard can answer, a bailiff knocks. It's time. The courtroom is silent when Maya enters. The gallery is full. Reporters, protesters, veterans, families. Cameras are everywhere, their lenses unblinking. Doyle sits at the defense table, his uniform stripped, his hands cuffed. The swagger is gone. He looks smaller now, his face pale, his jaw clenched. The judge clears his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury has reached a verdict. Every breath in the room seems to stop. The foreman rises, a folded slip of paper in his hands. His voice is steady but loud enough to carry. We, the jury, find Sergeant Frank Doyle guilty of assault, guilty of abuse of power, and guilty of conduct unbecoming of an officer. The room erupts, cheers, gasps, the roar of reporters. Protesters outside scream in triumph, their chants shaking the walls. Justice! 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 Doyle thrashes in his seat. This is a sham. I'm the victim. She humiliated me. Deputies restrain him as he shouts, his voice drowned by the roar of the crowd. The judge bangs the gavel. Order! Sergeant Doyle, You are hereby sentenced to immediate custody pending sentencing. This court is adjourned. As Doyle is dragged out, cameras capture every second. His rage, his downfall, his defeat. Maya sits still, her face calm but her chest tight. Leonard leans toward her. It's over. She shakes her head slightly. No, it's just beginning. Outside the courthouse, the crowd surges as Maya exits. Reporters shout, microphones thrust forward, protesters chant her name. She raises a hand, silencing them. Her voice carries over the steps. Today is not about me. Today is about respect, about every soldier, every officer, every citizen who has been silenced. Doyle's conviction is proof that hate does not win, but we must remember, justice is not a verdict, it is a practice, and we will keep practicing it every day until no one is above the law. The crowd roars, flags wave, cameras flash, chants shake the street. That night, Maya sits alone in her hotel room, staring at the city lights. The cheers outside filter through the glass, steady and strong. She presses her palms together, whispering softly, "We stood. We didn't bend." Her phone buzzes. A video message from her squadron appears. Dozens of pilots in flight suits smile into the camera. One speaks, "Captain, we watched every second. You carried us all today. We're proud to serve with you." Maya wipes at her eyes, her composure breaking for the first time. She whispers, "Thank you." Across the city, Doyle sits in a holding cell, the walls bare, his future erased. His hands tremble as he mutters to himself, "She ruined me. She ruined everything." But the world doesn't care about his muttering anymore. The world is focused on the chance that refused to die. Back at the courthouse, reporters broadcast live late into the night. One anchor concludes, "This case was more than an assault. It was a reckoning. And tonight, Captain Maya Johnson stands as proof that justice can rise even in the face of hate." Maya lies back on the bed, exhaustion pressing into her bones. For the first time in days, she allows her eyes to close. And outside, the chants go on. Justice! 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 The morning after the verdict, the city feels different. The air carries a charge, like a storm has passed but left its thunder echoing. News outlets replay the jury's words on loop. Guilty of assault, guilty of abuse of power, guilty of conduct unbecoming of an officer. Every channel, every headline, every conversation is about the fall of Sergeant Frank Doyle and the rise of Captain Maya Johnson. Maya sits at the hotel breakfast table, her uniform jacket neatly folded on the chair beside her. Leonard scrolls through his phone, shaking his head in disbelief. Listen to this. Hatch Justice. For Maya has over 1 million posts in 12 hours. Veterans groups, women's organizations, even foreign press. You're everywhere. Maya sips her coffee quietly. I didn't ask to be everywhere. Leonard looks up at her, his tone soft but firm. Symbols never ask to be symbols. They're made. And whether you like it or not, you've become one. She doesn't answer. Instead, she stares out the window at the crowd gathered even now, chanting her name. Later that day, Maya returns to the courthouse. Not to testify, not to face Doyle, but to speak at a press conference. The steps are packed, microphones lined in rows, cameras stacked 3 deep. Protesters wave signs. Respect our soldiers. No more racist cops. Maya stood, we stand with her. When she steps to the podium, the crowd falls silent. Her voice is calm, deliberate. Yesterday, justice was served. But justice is not a single verdict. It is a responsibility. What happened to me in that courtroom was not just about one man's hate. It was about a system that let his hate fester. If my voice can help change that system, then I will keep speaking. Not just for me, but for every voice silenced before me. The crowd erupts. Chants thunder down the street. Justice! 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 But across town in a small precinct office, Doyle's allies are less celebratory. A group of officers sit in silence, the television replaying Maya's words. One slams his fist on the table. She just called us all corrupt. Another shakes his head. She didn't have to. The cameras already did. A third mutters darkly, we can't let her win this war. Doyle may be gone, but if she keeps speaking, the whole system cracks. The threat hangs in the air, quiet but dangerous. Back at the hotel, Maya sits with Leonard as reporters dissect her speech. He leans forward. They'll push back. The verdict was a victory, but victories create enemies. Be ready. Maya nods slowly. I've flown through storms before. I'll fly through this one. That night, she walks outside to the protest line. The crowd cheers as she approaches, saluting her, chanting her name. A young girl breaks through, clutching a handmade sign. One day I'll fly like Maya. Maya kneels, her voice soft. Then promise me you'll fly higher than me. The girl nods, beaming, before her mother pulls her back into the crowd. Maya rises, her throat tight. This is bigger than her now. Much bigger. Across the city, Doyle sits in his holding cell, the verdict still ringing in his ears. He mutters to himself, his voice low and bitter. They think it's over. They think they've won. But men like me don't fade. We wait. Back in her hotel room, Maya receives a call from her commanding officer. His voice is steady, proud. Captain, the Air Force wants to honor you publicly. Medal ceremony, full press. You deserve it. Maya exhales, staring at her reflection in the mirror. I didn't stand for medals. I stood because I had to. Her commander pauses. That's why you deserve them. She ends the call, setting the phone down. Outside, chants still echo in the night. She presses her palms together, whispering to herself, justice isn't finished. Not yet. The next morning, newspapers announce sweeping changes. State officials call for police reform. Lawmakers draft bills. Activists march in celebration. Riverton has become more than a courthouse. It's the epicenter of a national reckoning. Maya reads the headlines, her chest heavy but strong. Leonard enters with fresh coffee, placing it in front of her. You realize, don't you? Doyle thought kicking you would silence you. Instead, he made you the loudest voice in the country. Maya allows herself the smallest smile. Then maybe it's time to keep talking. Outside, the chants rise again, louder than ever. Justice! 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 And for the first time, Maya believes they won't stop. The days following the verdict blur together in a storm of headlines, interviews, and marches. Captain Maya Johnson's face appears on every screen. News anchors call her the pilot who stood tall. Protesters chant her name in cities far beyond Riverton. For the first time, Maya realizes this isn't just a courtroom story. It's a national movement, but with recognition comes risk. One evening, as Maya leaves the courthouse after another long session with reporters, Leonard guides her toward the car. The Department of Defense wants you at a ceremony in D.C. next week, he says. Full honors. They want to show the country what dignity looks like. Maya's brows furrow. And paint a bigger target on my back? Leonard sighs. You're already the target, Maya. The only question is what you do with it. Before she can answer, a protester in the crowd shouts, We love you, Captain! The cheer ripples outward, chants rising. Maya! 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 She raises a hand acknowledging them. Their belief weighs on her shoulders heavier than any medal ever could. That night, back in her hotel room, Maya watches footage of the protests. Streets packed with people carrying signs. Justice for Maya, no more racist cops, respect our heroes. A young woman being interviewed holds back tears as she says, She showed us what strength looks like. She showed us we matter. Maya whispers to herself, Then I can't falter now. Across the city, Doyle seethes in his holding cell, shackled, humiliated, but unbroken in his own mind. His lawyer visits, voice sharp. Frank, stop talking to the press. Every word you mutter gets out and it makes you look worse. Doyle sneers. Worse? They already convicted me. What more can they do? I'll rot here while she plays the hero, but heroes fall, and when she does, I'll laugh. The lawyer shakes his head. Yes, you don't get it. She's not falling, she's rising. But Doyle only mutters, Not forever. Meanwhile, in Riverton, lawmakers scramble. Committees are formed, oversight bills drafted. For the first time in years, police reform sits at the top of the agenda. And at every podium, Maya's name is invoked. When she's invited to speak before the state assembly, Leonard warns her. They'll twist your words if you're not careful. They'll try to use you for politics. Maya nods. Then I'll remind them I'm not a politician. I'm a soldier. The chamber is packed when she takes the podium. Reporters crowd the aisles. Activists fill the balcony. Maya adjusts the microphone, her voice steady. I did not choose this fight. It found me when Sergeant Doyle decided my uniform, my service, and my dignity meant less than his badge. But this fight is not about one man. It is about a system that let him believe that. I stand here not as a victim, but as a witness. To hate, to resilience, and to the truth that justice must never be optional. The room erupts in applause. Even some lawmakers rise to their feet. The chant begins again, echoing through the chamber. Justice! 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 That night, Leonard sits across from her in the hotel lobby. You realize what you did in there, right? You didn't just testify, you demanded change. Maya rubs her temple. And change doesn't come without backlash. He nods grimly. No, it doesn't. Later, as Maya prepares for bed, her phone buzzes. A message from her younger sister flashes across the screen. I'm proud of you, but please be careful. Not everyone wants to see you win. Maya stares at the message, her chest tight. She whispers softly, I know. Across town, Doyle stares at the ceiling of his cell, muttering, she thinks she's untouchable. But no one is. Back at the courthouse the next day, reporters swarm as Maya arrives. One shouts above the noise, Captain Johnson, do you believe Doyle's conviction will change the system? Maya pauses at the top of the steps. Cameras flash, microphones crowd. She raises her chin. Change isn't a verdict, it's a choice. And today, this country has a choice, to stay silent or to stand. I've already made mine. The crowd explodes in cheers. Protesters chant louder, their voices shaking the steps. Leonard leans close as they push through the doors. You're not just a symbol anymore, Maya. You're a leader. She exhales, steady and calm. Then I'll lead. And outside, the chants rise higher, echoing through the city, refusing to fade. The weeks after the verdict blur into a relentless march of interviews, speeches, and rallies. Captain Maya Johnson becomes a household name. Her face is on magazine covers, her words replayed on television. To some, she is a hero. To others, a threat. In her hotel room one morning, Maya flips through channels. One station shows her speech at the state assembly, calling for reform. Another plays footage of Doyle being dragged from the courtroom, still screaming. A third debates her legacy. Is Captain Johnson the face of a new movement or a lightning rod for division? Leonard enters, his phone pressed to his ear. He ends the call with a sigh. That was the governor's office. They want you at a ceremony tomorrow. Full honors. National Guard presence. They're making it a spectacle. Maya sets down the remote. A spectacle means more cameras, more eyes, more targets, Leonard adds grimly. She doesn't argue. She simply folds her hands. I'll go. Outside, the city simmers. Protests continue daily. Most are peaceful, but tensions spike as counter-protesters appear. One group shouts across barricades, "Back the blue!" while the other answers, "Justice for Maya!" Police stand between them, their faces tight, the air heavy with the possibility of violence. That night, Maya sits by the window, watching the glow of protest signs below. Her phone buzzes. A message from her younger sister. They're saying Doyle's people are planning something. Please, Maya, be careful. She types back, I always am. But her chest feels heavy. Meanwhile, Doyle festers in his cell. His reputation shredded, his future gone, his hate burns hotter than ever. He scribbles letters furiously, sending them to old allies still on the force. She ruined us. She ruined me. Don't let her win. Some letters are intercepted, but not all. The next day, Maya arrives at the governor's ceremony. The plaza is packed. Hundreds of veterans in uniform, thousands of supporters waving flags and signs. Cameras line every balcony, reporters broadcasting live. The governor steps to the podium first, his voice booming. Today we honor Captain Maya Johnson, a woman who stood tall when hate tried to silence her. She has reminded us what service, dignity, and courage truly mean. Applause thunders. Maya steps forward, the sun gleaming off her uniform. She scans the crowd, faces young and old, eyes filled with hope. Her voice is calm, steady. I did not ask for this spotlight. I did not ask to be kicked, mocked, or doubted, but I will never stop asking for justice. Not just for me, but for every voice silenced by hate. If my service has taught me anything, it is this. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing anyway. And today, I will keep standing. The plaza erupts. Chants shake the air. Maya! 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 Veterans salute. Families cheer. Cameras zoom in on her face. But across the street, in the shadows, a small group watches silently. Men in plain clothes, their eyes cold, their expressions hard. One mutters, she's turning them all against us. Another growls, then maybe it's time we remind her who still holds the power. Back at the hotel, Leonard is pacing. The ceremony was powerful, Maya, but it's also dangerous. You saw them, didn't you? Doyle's allies. They're not cheering. Maya sets her cap on the desk. I saw them. I've seen their type my whole life, but fear doesn't silence me. It never has. Leonard leans closer. Courage doesn't mean you're invincible. Promise me you'll take precautions. She meets his eyes, steady. I promise to keep standing. That's all I can promise. That night, she dreams of the skies, of combat missions, of engines roaring, of storms she flew through and survived. She wakes with a start, her chest heaving. The chants from the street filter through the window, grounding her. Across the city, Doyle writes again in the dark. His voice is a whisper, venom dripping with every word. She thinks she's safe. She thinks she's won. But storms don't last forever. And when hers breaks, I'll be waiting. The war may have shifted from the courtroom to the streets, but Maya knows one truth. The fight is not finished, and tomorrow the storm will grow louder. The morning after the governor's ceremony, the city wakes buzzing. Newspapers splash Maya's face across their front pages. Pilot turned symbol of justice. Television pundits replay her speech, dissecting every word. On social media, clips of veterans saluting her spread like wildfire. But while much of the city cheers, a darker current moves quietly beneath the surface. At a small diner near the edge of town, 3 men sit huddled in a corner booth. All are former colleagues of Doyle, cops who once laughed at his crude jokes, who nodded along when he spat venom. Now they're bitter. She humiliated him, one mutters. Dragged all of us through the mud. Another stabs at his eggs with a fork. The jury made him the villain. The public made her the saint. And us? We're caught in the middle. The third leans forward, his voice low. No, we're not caught. We're cornered. And when you're cornered, you fight back. Back at her hotel, Maya scrolls through messages. Dozens of emails pour in. You inspired me. You gave me hope. My daughter wants to be a pilot now because of you. Then, buried in the flood, one message chills her. Heroes fall. Watch your back. Her stomach knots, but she doesn't flinch. She's read threats before. She's flown through real fire. Still, she flags the email and shows it to Leonard when he arrives. He frowns. We'll inform security, but Maya, this is what I warned you about. Every step forward paints a bigger target. She meets his gaze, steady. Then I'll keep walking. Later that afternoon, she returns to the courthouse for another round of hearings. Not about Doyle, but about broader reforms. Lawmakers want her testimony to fuel momentum. The courtroom is packed again, cameras rolling. A senator leans forward. Captain Johnson, what reforms would you like to see implemented as a result of this case? Maya's voice is calm but firm. Transparency, accountability, training that goes beyond weapons and tactics to include respect and humanity. Because until the system teaches its officers to see people as people, nothing changes. Applause ripples through the chamber. The chants from outside bleed in through the windows. Justice! 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 But in the back of the room, a pair of men exchange dark glances. One mutters under his breath, "She's dismantling everything we built." When the hearing adjourns, reporters swarm again. Microphones thrust forward, cameras flashing. One asks, Captain Johnson, do you feel safe, given the threats, the protests, the backlash? Maya pauses. Her eyes sweep over the sea of faces, the signs, the hope burning in their chants. She lifts her chin. Safety isn't the goal. Justice is. And justice is worth the risk. The crowd erupts. Protesters cheer, reporters scribble furiously, and the clip plays on every evening broadcast. That night, Maya retreats to her hotel room, exhaustion heavy on her shoulders. She sits by the window, staring at the flickering candles of protesters below. Her phone buzzes with another message from her squadron. "Keep flying, Captain. You're our compass." She whispers to herself, "Then I can't lose altitude now." But across town, in the dark of a cramped apartment, Doyle's allies plot. One slams a newspaper down on the table, Maya's face on the cover. She's untouchable now. The courts, the cameras, the people, everyone protects her. Another snarls, "No one's untouchable, not forever." The third man leans back, his smile cold. Then we remind her, quietly, a warning shot, to make her remember where power really lies. The room falls into silence, their plan unspoken but clear. Meanwhile, Leonard sits across from Maya in the hotel lounge. His voice is steady but urgent. "You're winning battles, Maya, but wars are long. Promise me you won't ignore the risks." She stirs her tea slowly. "Leonard, I've flown missions where one mistake meant death. I don't ignore risks. I face them." He studies her, then nods. Just don't face them alone. Up in her room, Maya removes her uniform jacket and hangs it neatly, her ritual unchanged. She stands before the mirror, her reflection staring back. For the first time, she sees not just a pilot, not just a soldier, but a symbol, a standard others are rallying behind, and symbols she knows can't afford to fall. Outside, the chants rise again, louder, more insistent. Justice! 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 And in the shadows, the men who once wore the same badge as Doyle whisper about reminding her what silence feels like. The storm hasn't ended, it's only shifted. And Maya Johnson, steady as ever, braces for the next wave. The next morning begins with the sound of helicopters overhead. News crews hover above the courthouse, capturing the swelling protests that refuse to fade. The chants echo into every corner of the city. Justice! 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 Maya rises early, her uniform pressed, her routine unshaken. She sips her coffee slowly, staring at the television. Another panel debates her case, but the conversation has shifted. It's no longer just about Doyle. It's about reform, about racism, about women in the military. Leonard arrives, papers under his arm, his tie slightly crooked from exhaustion. They want you back at the State Assembly this afternoon, he says. Your last testimony hit harder than any headline. Lawmakers want you to close the session. Maya nods. Then I'll speak, but I won't repeat myself. They need to hear more than what's safe. He studies her carefully. You're pushing hard, Maya. Too hard, maybe. Every word you speak, every step you take, it puts you deeper in the crosshairs. She sets her coffee down, her gaze firm. I've flown missions where the crosshairs were missiles. I'm still here. This fight won't be the one that breaks me. By midday, the State Assembly chamber is packed again. Reporters crowd the aisles, activists fill the balcony, cameras stream live to millions. Maya walks to the podium, her heels echoing in the marble chamber. She doesn't flinch under the weight of the stairs. My name is Captain Maya Johnson, she begins, her voice steady. I was kicked in a courtroom by a man sworn to protect the law. But what matters is not the kick. What matters is the system that allowed him to believe he could kick me and walk away. What matters is the silence that covered for him until we shouted loud enough to break it. Her words ripple through the chamber. Some lawmakers shift uncomfortably, others nod solemnly. She continues, stronger now. Justice is not a moment. It's not a verdict or a headline. It's a practice. And until we practice it daily, until we demand it of everyone in uniform, this fight will not end. I did not ask to be a symbol, but if standing here means no one else has to face what I did, then I will keep standing. Applause erupts. Protesters in the balcony rise to their feet, chanting her name. The cameras zoom in on her face, capturing every word, every flicker of resolve. But across town, Doyle's allies watch on a flickering television in their cramped apartment. One slams his fist on the table. She's tearing us apart. Every word is another nail in the coffin. Another mutters, then maybe we show her nails cut both ways. The third man smirks. A warning, nothing big, just enough to rattle her. Remind her she's not untouchable. The others nod. The decision is made. That evening, Maya returns to her hotel. Leonard walks beside her, scanning the street nervously. Security's tighter, but I don't like this, he murmurs. Maya glances at the protesters still gathered, candles glowing in the night. Their chants drift upward, steady and strong. They're my security, she says softly. But later, alone in her room, she feels the weight settle heavier than ever. She removes her uniform jacket, hangs it neatly, and stares at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes are tired but unbroken. Her phone buzzes, another message from her sister. I'm proud of you, but please don't forget, you're human too. Don't carry this alone. Maya types back, I'm not alone, I have voices with me. She sets the phone down, but the knot in her chest remains. Across the city, Doyle paces in his cell. His lawyer sighs, dropping a stack of letters on the table. These were intercepted. Frank, your allies are plotting. If this gets out, they'll bury you deeper. Doyle grins coldly. Let them plot. Let them remind her she's still mortal. Back in the hotel, Maya lies awake, listening to the muffled chants outside. She whispers to herself, justice isn't safe, but it's worth it. And outside, in the shadows beyond the candlelight, a car waits. Inside, 3 men sit in silence, their eyes fixed on the hotel entrance. The storm hasn't passed, it's only shifted. And Captain Maya Johnson, steady as ever, braces for the next strike. Night falls heavy over Riverton. The courthouse square, once full of chants, now glows with scattered candles. Protesters linger, their voices softer but unbroken. Inside her hotel room, Maya sits by the window, watching the flicker of light. She should feel victorious. Doyle is convicted. Whitaker disgraced. Lawmakers are finally listening. But her instincts, honed from years of flying combat missions, whisper something else. Danger never retreats quietly. Her phone buzzes. Leonard's name flashes. She answers. You need to know. His voice is low, urgent. We've picked up chatter. Doyle's allies, ex-cops, old drinking buddies, they're angry. Some are talking about making an example out of you. Maya exhales slowly, steady. Let them talk. I've faced worse. This isn't the desert sky, Maya, Leonard insists. This is here, at your door. Promise me you'll let the security team shadow you. She hesitates, then nods. Fine, but I won't be silenced, not now. Later that night, 3 men sit in a car parked across from her hotel. Cigarettes burn in the dark, their faces shadowed. She made Doyle look like a fool, one mutters. She made all of us look weak, another spits. The third leans forward, voice cold. Then tomorrow we remind her, loud enough to scare, quiet enough to deny. The plan is set. The next morning, Maya wakes early. Her uniform is pressed, her routine precise. Coffee, notes, reflection in the mirror. She whispers to herself, Steady, Captain. Always steady. Leonard meets her in the lobby, circles under his eyes. Big hearing today. Lawmakers are drafting a reform bill. Your testimony could push it across the line. Maya straightens her cap. Then let's push. Outside, the crowd is larger than ever. Veterans salute as she passes, mothers hold children on their shoulders, students wave homemade signs, chants thunder, Justice for Maya! Justice for Maya! But as Maya mounts the courthouse steps, chaos erupts. A glass bottle shatters against the pavement, exploding into shards at her feet. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Protesters scream. Reporters scramble for cover. Security rushes forward, forming a wall around her. Leonard grabs her arm. Get back inside! Maya doesn't flinch. She raises her chin, scanning the crowd. Across the barricades, she sees them. 3 men in plain clothes, their eyes locked on her, their smirks sharp. The bottle was theirs. A warning shot. Protesters surge, shouting them down. Police move in, dragging the men away as cameras roll. Reporters shout over the chaos. Captain Johnson, are you all right? Was this an attack? Maya steps forward, her voice calm but fierce. I am fine, but understand this. Intimidation will not silence me. Not today, not ever. The crowd explodes in cheers. The chant returns, louder than before. Justice! 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 Inside the courthouse, lawmakers whisper urgently, shaken by the attack. The lead senator leans forward as Maya takes the stand. Captain Johnson, after what just happened, do you wish to postpone your testimony? Maya shakes her head. No, fear does not delay justice. The chamber falls silent as she begins. What happened outside is proof of what I've said all along. Hate doesn't fade when it's exposed. It fights back. But that is why reform cannot wait. We need accountability, transparency, and a culture that values dignity over dominance. Without that, Doyle will not be the last. Her words settle heavy. Reporters scribble furiously. Cameras zoom close, capturing every syllable. One lawmaker rises. Captain Johnson, are you saying Doyle was not an isolated case? Maya's eyes harden. He was a symptom. The disease is deeper. The chamber erupts in murmurs. Some lawmakers bristle, others nod solemnly. But no one can deny the truth in her voice. By the time she finishes, the gallery is on its feet, applauding. Protesters outside cheer as word spreads. The bottle attack, meant to silence, has only amplified her voice. That night, Leonard sits with her in the hotel lounge. You realize what you did today, right? You turned their warning shot into your strongest testimony yet. Maya sips her tea, her voice calm. That's because fear is loudest right before it breaks. Across town, Doyle slams his fists against his cell wall, shouting curses. Guards ignore him, but his allies on the outside seethe in silence. She humiliated us again, one growls. The other narrows his eyes. Then we don't warn next time. We strike. But Maya doesn't know their whispers. She only knows the chants that rise louder each night outside her window. Justice! 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 And she whispers back, steady as ever, then I'll keep standing. The morning after the bottle attack, Riverton feels like a city bracing for war. News outlets play the footage non-stop, Maya standing tall while chaos erupted around her. Headlines scream, "Pilot targeted outside courthouse. Johnson defies intimidation. Justice movement grows stronger." In her hotel room, Maya fastens the last button of her uniform jacket. The mirror shows the same calm, steady face she wore in combat zones. But inside, her chest tightens. She knows every day now could bring another test. Leonard enters, his phone buzzing constantly. Calls from Washington, calls from the Pentagon, everyone wants a piece of you. They're talking about you like you're a national icon. Maya adjusts her cap. Icons are targets, Leonard, and targets don't get to miss. He sighs, running a hand over his face. Then we hit back harder, with words, with truth. That's your weapon. Downstairs, security doubles as she heads to the courthouse. Crowds line the barricades, bigger than ever. Protesters hold signs with her picture next to words like courage, honor, and justice. Their chants shake the pavement. Maya, Maya, Maya! But she also sees the counter-protesters, smaller, angrier, holding banners that read, "Back the Blue" and "Traitors don't belong in uniform." Police stand between the groups, their faces tight. The air hums with tension, ready to snap. Inside the courthouse, lawmakers gather for another reform session. The chamber buzzes with anticipation as Maya takes the podium. Cameras zoom in, broadcasting live across the country. "My name is Captain Maya Johnson," she begins, her voice strong. "Yesterday, men tried to silence me with a bottle. Today, I am still standing. That is not defiance, that is duty. And I will keep standing until respect is not debated, but expected." Applause thunders. The gallery erupts in cheers. Even some lawmakers rise to their feet. But across the city, in a dim apartment, Doyle's allies fume as they watch the broadcast. One slams the remote down. "Every time we push, she comes back stronger. The bottle was nothing. Next time we make it count." Another shakes his head. "She's protected now. Guards, cameras, crowds. If we strike, we'll burn." The third man leans forward, his smile thin. "Then we don't strike in the open. We strike where no cameras shine." Back at the courthouse, Maya exits into a storm of reporters. One shouts, "Captain Johnson, do you fear for your life after yesterday's attack?" Maya pauses, turning to face the cameras. Fear is real, but so is courage. And courage is standing anyway. If my service has taught me anything, it is this: storms pass, but dignity endures. The clip spreads instantly, dominating headlines. Maya, courage is standing anyway. That night, Maya sits in the hotel lounge with Leonard. The room is quiet, but tension lingers. He leans forward. "They'll try again, Maya. Today proved it. This isn't over." She stirs her tea slowly. It won't be over until reform passes. Until Doyle isn't remembered as an exception, but as a warning. Leonard nods. "And what about you? What happens when the cameras move on?" Her eyes harden. "Then I keep flying. With or without cameras, justice doesn't clock out." Meanwhile, Doyle sits in his cell, his rage boiling. Guards pass by, ignoring his shouts, but his mind races. He whispers to himself, "She thinks she's untouchable. She thinks the world loves her." But love fades. Hate waits. Across town, his allies finalize their plan. One mutters, "The courthouse is too hot. Too many eyes." Another answers, "Then we hit where she rests, where she thinks she's safe." The third man grins coldly. "The hotel." Back at the hotel, Maya receives a call from her commanding officer. His voice is steady. "Captain, the Air Force will host a public ceremony in your honor. Full honors, national press. You'll stand as a symbol not just for justice, but for the military itself." Maya exhales slowly. "Ceremonies are for medals. This fight is bigger than medals." The officer's tone sharpens. "And bigger than you. This isn't about one pilot anymore. It's about a nation watching. Don't underestimate that." She ends the call, setting the phone down. Her chest is heavy, but her resolve unshaken. She whispers to her reflection, "Then I'll carry it, all of it." Outside, protesters light candles, their chants rolling up into the night sky. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" And across the street, in the shadows, three men watch from their car. The storm is not fading. It's circling closer. The hotel is quiet after midnight, but Maya can't sleep. She sits by the window in her uniform undershirt, staring at the flicker of candlelight from protesters still gathered outside. Their chants are softer now, but steady. Justice! 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 She should feel safe. Security guards patrol the hallways, cameras monitor every corner, and Leonard made sure the front desk logged every visitor. Still, the knot in her stomach doesn't loosen. Years of combat have sharpened her instincts, and her instincts whisper, danger is near. Down in the street, a car idles in the shadows. 3 men sit inside, faces hidden by the dim glow of the dashboard. One exhales smoke, muttering, she thinks this is her city now. She thinks one trial changes everything. Another snarls, the system may have bent, but will break her. The third man grins, his voice cold. Tonight's the night, no more warnings. Upstairs, Maya's phone buzzes, a message from her sister. Saw threats online. Please, Maya, promise me you'll be careful. She types back, always, love you. But her fingers linger on the screen, as if she knows words aren't enough. Suddenly, a sound outside her door. Soft, deliberate. Not the shuffle of hotel staff, not the firm tread of security. Maya stiffens. She moves silently across the room, her combat instincts returning. A shadow flickers beneath the door. Then, a soft click. Someone is picking the lock. Maya's heart pounds, but her face remains calm. She grabs the heavy lamp from the bedside table, her muscles tense. The lock turns. The door creaks. 3 men push inside, their movements sharp, their eyes burning. One whispers, end of the line, Captain. But they don't find fear. They find Maya, standing tall, lamp raised like a weapon. You picked the wrong room, she says, her voice steel. Before they can react, she swings. The lamp crashes into the first man's shoulder, sending him sprawling. The second lunges, but she pivots, her training precise, driving a knee into his chest. He gasps, stumbling backward. The third grabs her arm, snarling, not so tough now! But Maya twists sharply, breaking his grip, slamming her elbow into his jaw. He crashes against the dresser, dazed. The commotion draws security. Boots thunder down the hall, shouts fill the air. The men scramble, trying to flee, but guards tackle them before they can escape. Reporters swarm within the hour. Cameras capture the suspects being dragged out in cuffs, their faces bruised and beaten. Headlines explode, assassination attempt on Captain Johnson foiled. Leonard rushes into the hotel room minutes later, his face pale. Maya, are you hurt? She shakes her head, steady as always. Not hurt, just tired of fighting battles I didn't ask for. He grips her shoulders, his voice low but fierce. You don't get it, do you? Tonight proves it. You're not just a witness, you're the movement. They tried to break the symbol and you stood. Again. Maya exhales slowly, glancing at the shattered lamp. The blood smears on the floor. Standing is all I know. The next morning, the story dominates every network. Protesters flood the courthouse steps, their chants louder, angrier, fueled by the attack. Lawmakers call emergency sessions. Activists demand accountability, not just for Doyle, but for the network of hate that still lingers in the system. In the chamber, Maya testifies again. This time, not just about the kick, not just about respect, but about survival. They broke into my room last night, she tells the assembly, her voice steady. They wanted to silence me, but I am still here, and I will keep standing until no one else has to fight the battles I fought. Justice is not safe. It is not easy, but it is necessary. The chamber explodes with applause. Cameras broadcast her words live across the nation. Outside, protesters roar, their chants rolling through the streets. Justice! 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 Meanwhile, in his cell, Doyle slams his fists against the wall, his voice hoarse from shouting. She should have fallen. She should have been broken. But no one listens anymore. The world has moved on. That night, Maya sits alone, exhaustion heavy on her bones. She gazes at the city lights, her reflection in the glass. For the first time, she whispers, not to herself, but to the countless voices chanting outside, we're not finished, but we're winning. And outside, the chants answer back, steady and strong. Justice! 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 By dawn, the attempted attack is already the top story in America. Every network replays the shaky hotel security footage. 3 men forcing Maya's door open, then stumbling out in cuffs. Headlines scream, Hero pilot survives hotel ambush. Maya sits at the breakfast table in her hotel suite, her uniform jacket draped neatly over a chair. Leonard scrolls through his phone, his face pale. The men were Doyle's old partners, retired cops, all of them. They said it was personal. Maya stirs her coffee, calm but firm. Personal doesn't kick down doors with weapons in hand. That was more than personal. That was hate refusing to die. Leonard sets his phone down, leaning forward. And hate doesn't stop on its own. The reform bill is being debated today. Your testimony is the nail in the coffin. We can't back down. Maya nods. Then we don't. By midday, the state assembly chamber is packed tighter than ever. News crews fill every aisle. Activists wave signs from the balcony, and protesters chant outside loud enough to rattle the windows. Maya walks to the podium, her heels echoing on marble. The room falls silent. "My name is Captain Maya Johnson," she begins, her voice strong, "and last night, 3 men broke into my hotel room to silence me. They failed. And I am here to say that intimidation will never replace justice." The chamber erupts in applause. Lawmakers pound their desks, the gallery cheers, cameras zoom in. She continues, steady. "This isn't about one cop. This isn't about one trial. It's about a system that allowed hate to hide behind badges, behind silence, behind excuses. We can't let reform wait until another victim bleeds. Reform must begin now." A senator rises. "Captain Johnson, what reforms do you demand?" Maya doesn't hesitate. "Mandatory cameras on every officer. Independent oversight for every complaint, training that values life over power, and consequences, real consequences, for those who betray the badge." The chamber hums with murmurs, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. But no one can deny her clarity. When she finishes, the applause is thunderous. Reporters rush to broadcast her words live. Protesters outside cheer louder, their chants rising like thunder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" But across town in his holding cell, Doyle seethes. His voice rasps from shouting. "She should have been gone! They failed me! They all failed me!" He paces like a caged animal, his fists bloody from punching the wall. Guards ignore him. His words don't matter anymore. Back at the courthouse, Maya exits into a storm of microphones. Reporters shout, "Captain Johnson, how do you feel after last night's attack?" Maya raises her chin, her voice clear. "I feel the same way I did yesterday and the day before. Standing. Always standing. Because justice doesn't bend, and neither will I." The crowd roars. Flags wave, cameras flash, chants shake the ground. That evening, Maya sits in the hotel lounge with Leonard. He leans forward, exhaustion written on his face. The bill is gaining momentum. You may have turned last night's attack into the final push they needed. Maya sips her tea, her expression calm. "Then let's see it through." Outside, the protests grow larger. Streets fill with candles, signs, and chants. Helicopters circle overhead. The city is alive with a movement no one can contain. But danger lingers. Across the river, Doyle's allies meet in silence. One slams his fist on the table. "She made us look weak again. Cameras, chants, lawmakers. It's all her." Another growls. "Then we strike bigger, louder, make the world see her bleed." The third shakes his head. "No, we don't touch her now. Every attack makes her stronger. We find another way." Their whispers fade into the night, but the threat hangs heavy. Back in her room, Maya removes her jacket, hanging it neatly. She stares at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes are tired, but her posture remains unbroken. She whispers softly, "One more storm, Captain. One more." Her phone buzzes, a message from her commander. "DC awaits. Ceremony next week. Full honors. The country will salute you." Maya sets the phone down, her chest heavy. She doesn't crave ceremonies, she craves peace, but peace she knows is never given. It's earned. Outside, chants shake the streets louder than ever. Protesters hold candles high, their voices refusing to fade, and Maya Johnson, weary but unyielding, prepares for the battles still to come. The morning of the reform bill vote dawns gray, heavy clouds rolling over the city. Yet the courthouse steps are packed tighter than ever. Veterans in uniform, families waving flags, protesters holding candles even in daylight. Their chants rise like thunder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Maya watches the live feed from her hotel suite, her hands folded neatly on the table. Leonard paces behind her, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, we'll be there shortly," he says, ending the call. He exhales. "The committee wants you present for the vote. They say your testimony turned the tide." Maya rises, adjusting her jacket. "Then we finish what we started." The ride to the State House crawls through packed streets. Crowds wave as her car passes, some saluting, others shouting encouragement. Maya lowers the window slightly, raising a hand. The cheer swells. echoing against buildings. Inside the chamber, lawmakers file in. Cameras broadcast live nationwide. Protesters' chants filter faintly through the windows, steady and strong. Maya sits in the front row, Leonard at her side. She feels every eye on her, but her posture is steady, her face calm. The speaker rises, voice solemn. Today we vote on a bill to mandate body cameras, independent oversight, and accountability measures across all law enforcement. This bill was inspired in part by the events surrounding Captain Maya Johnson. The chamber hums. Some faces tighten, others nod. Debate begins. Hours of speeches, arguments, amendments. Opponents claim the bill is too strict. Supporters argue it's too late in coming. But through it all, Maya sits silently, her presence louder than any words. Finally, the roll call begins. One by one, lawmakers cast their votes. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. The tally grows. The chamber holds its breath. Outside, chants rise louder, as if the protesters can feel history shifting. The final vote echoes, yes. The speaker slams the gavel. The bill passes. The room erupts. Applause, cheers, reporters scrambling. Outside, the chants explode into celebration. Justice! 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 Maya exhales slowly, her hands unclenching. Leonard leans close, whispering, "You did it. This is history." She shakes her head slightly. "We did it. Every voice, every chant." I just stood. Reporters swarm as she exits the chamber. "Captain Johnson, what do you think of the bill's passage?" Maya stops on the steps, her voice clear. "This is not the end. It is the beginning. Laws are words on paper. Justice is how we live them. Today we prove that voices matter. Tomorrow we prove it again." The crowd roars, chants shaking the air. Cameras capture every word, broadcasting to millions. But in a dim cell across town, Doyle seethes as he hears the news. His fists slam against the wall. "She did it. She tore it all down." His voice cracks into a whisper. But storms always pass. Always. That night the city glows. Fireworks burst above the courthouse. Protesters dancing in the streets. Families sing, veterans salute, children wave flags. The reform bill is celebrated like victory itself. Maya stands at her hotel window watching the lights. Her reflection stares back. Tired eyes, straight posture, a symbol she never asked to be. Leonard joins her, a glass of water in hand. "You should be proud," he says softly. She nods slowly. "I am. But pride doesn't erase the scars." He studies her face. "And scars don't erase the victory. Tonight, you gave them hope." She exhales, pressing a hand against the glass. "Hope is heavier than hate, but I'll carry it." Her phone buzzes, a message from her squadron. "You carried us all. Fly high, Captain." She allows herself the smallest smile. But in the shadows, Doyle's allies gather once more. One mutters, "She won the law, but laws don't protect forever." Another answers, "Then we wait, we watch, and when the cameras fade, we strike." Their words dissolve into the night, unseen, unheard. For now, the city belongs to Maya. The chants roll on, louder, unstoppable. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" And she whispers back, steady as ever, "Then justice it will be." The reform bill's passage shakes the nation. News anchors call it a turning point, activists call it a victory, and lawmakers rush to claim credit. Yet, for Maya Johnson, it feels less like celebration and more like responsibility. She sits in her hotel room, watching footage of fireworks above the courthouse. Protesters cheer, families dance, chants echo into the night. Leonard enters, his phone buzzing endlessly. "Maya, the Pentagon's confirmed it. The medal ceremony in D.C. is official. Next week, the president himself will pin it on you." Maya exhales, steady but heavy. "A medal won't change what happened." Leonard nods. "No, but it shows the country what standing looks like." She doesn't argue. She just folds her hands, staring out the window at the glowing city. The next morning, Riverton is alive with celebration. News vans line the courthouse, murals of Maya appear on city walls, and children carry signs that read, "Fly like Maya." But beneath the joy, tension simmers. In a dark apartment across town, Doyle's allies gather again. One slams a newspaper on the table, Maya's face covering the front page. She's everywhere. She's untouchable now. Another snarls. Nobody's untouchable. We hit her hotel and she still walks free. But if we strike bigger, louder, the world will see she bleeds. The third shakes his head. Every attack makes her stronger. The cameras feed her. If we want to end her, we wait. We outlast the cameras. Their whispers linger, dangerous and unresolved. At the courthouse that afternoon, Maya testifies one last time before the assembly closes for recess. Her voice is calm but firm. Laws have passed, but laws are not lives. Until respect becomes practice, our work isn't done. We've taken the first step, now we take the next. Applause thunders through the chamber. Protesters outside chant her name, their voices rising above the noise of the city. That night, Leonard sits with her in the hotel lounge, exhaustion clear on his face. You know what happens next, don't you? Maya sips her tea. The cameras leave, the chants fade, and the real test begins. He nods. Exactly. But you've built something they can't erase. You gave them a voice. Her phone buzzes, a message from her younger sister. I saw the bill passed. You did it. Mom would be proud. Maya closes her eyes, the words cutting deeper than any headline. She whispers softly, then it was worth it. Meanwhile, in his cell, Doyle festers. He mutters to himself, pacing like a caged animal. She thinks she's won. She thinks the law protects her. But storms always break. Always. Back at the hotel, Maya prepares for bed. She hangs her uniform jacket neatly, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes are tired, but her posture is unbroken. She whispers, "One more storm, Captain. One more." The next day, Leonard brings news. Maya, the governor wants to meet privately before you leave for D.C. He says he wants to thank you personally. Maya nods slowly. Then I'll go, but no cameras, just words. The governor's office is grand, lined with portraits of leaders past. He greets Maya warmly, shaking her hand firmly. Captain Johnson, you've given this state something we can never repay. Courage, clarity, change, thank you. Maya meets his gaze, steady. I didn't do it alone. Every voice outside these walls carried me here. The governor nods solemnly. And they'll carry you further still. When she leaves the office, reporters swarm, but Maya keeps walking, her silence louder than any soundbite. That evening, she returns to her hotel, exhaustion heavy on her bones. Outside, protesters chant her name, their candles glowing against the night. She whispers softly through the glass, I hear you, I'll keep standing. But across town, Doyle's allies plan again. One mutters, DC will make her bigger than ever. If we want to end her, it has to be there. Another shakes his head. Too many eyes, too much risk. The third leans forward, his voice cold. Then we don't aim at her body, we aim at her image. We tear her down without touching her. And when the cameras turn, she falls. Their words hang heavy in the dark. Back in her room, Maya lies awake, listening to the faint hum of chants outside. Her phone buzzes, a message from her squadron. DC awaits, we'll be there when you stand. She closes her eyes, her whisper steady as always. Then I'll stand taller. The storm hasn't ended. It's only moving to a new sky. The Capitol hums with anticipation. Washington, D.C. prepares for a spectacle, the medal ceremony honoring Captain Maya Johnson. Streets are draped with flags, military bands rehearse, and reporters swarm the National Mall. For Maya, the shift from Riverton to D.C. feels surreal. She sits in her hotel suite overlooking the city, her uniform jacket pressed, her medals pinned neatly. Leonard stands by the window, scrolling through his phone. Every network is covering this. Live feeds, commentary, panel discussions. Maya, you're about to step into history. She exhales slowly. History isn't what I want. Justice is. If this ceremony helps, I'll stand. But medals don't erase scars. Leonard turns, his voice soft. But they remind people that scars are proof you survived. Outside, crowds already gather near the Lincoln Memorial, where the ceremony will take place. Protesters chant her name, their voices merging with the hum of anticipation. But in a quiet cafe across town, Doyle's allies huddle around a television showing live coverage. One spits into his cup. Look at her, parading like she's queen of the country. Another snarls. Doyle rots in a cell while she gets a medal. It's backwards. The third leans forward, voice low and cold. Then we flip it. We don't touch her. We touch the story. We paint her as the villain. And when the cameras turn, she falls. They nod grimly, their plan shifting from violence to sabotage. The next morning, Maya stands backstage at the memorial, the roar of the crowd spilling through the curtains. Military bands play, veterans salute, families wave flags. The president steps to the podium, his voice booming. Today we honor Captain Maya Johnson, a soldier who stood not just in combat abroad, but in the fight for justice at home. She faced hate and did not bend. She faced threats and did not fall. She showed us what courage looks like. The crowd cheers thunderously. Maya steps forward, saluting sharply. The president pins the medal on her chest, the cameras zooming in. Flashbulbs explode. Maya's voice carries across the mall when she speaks. I did not stand alone. Every protester, every veteran, every citizen who raised their voice stood with me. This medal belongs to all of you. And let it remind us, justice is not a gift. It is a duty, and we must keep fighting for it. The crowd erupts into chants. Justice! 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 But in the crowd's back rows, men with grim faces record the ceremony, not to celebrate, but to twist. They whisper to each other, clip it wrong, cut it up, make her words look like an attack on the country, not a defense of it. Even as Maya speaks, the battle shifts to screens. That night in her hotel room, Maya watches the coverage. Most networks praise her, but online, darker threads emerge. Edited clips spread across forums. Her words twisted, her image smeared. Headlines seeded by Doyle's allies begin to appear. Pilot or politician? Johnson's hidden agenda. Leonard storms into the room, phone in hand. They're trying to flip the story. Smear campaigns, edited videos. This isn't an attack on your body, Maya. It's an attack on your name. Maya sits calmly, though her chest feels heavy. Then we don't fight lies with fear. We fight them with truth. She appears on live television the next morning, her uniform crisp, her voice steady. I stand by every word I spoke. Justice is not division. Justice is unity, and no edited clip will silence me. Her words ripple across the airwaves, countering the smear. Supporters rally again, hashtags trend, protesters flood the streets with renewed energy. But in his cell, Doyle grins for the first time in weeks. Good. Let them fight her online. She can't swing at shadows. Back in D.C., Maya stares out her window at the glowing Capitol. She whispers softly to herself, storms change, but storms don't end. Keep standing, Captain. Always standing. Outside, the chants rise again, echoing across the mall. Justice, justice, justice! And Maya knows, the fight isn't finished. Not yet. The smear campaign spreads like wildfire. Overnight, social media platforms overflow with doctored clips, false headlines, and whispered conspiracies. To some, Maya is still a hero. To others, she becomes the villain of their chosen story. But Maya Johnson has weathered storms before. And this time, she refuses to let shadows win. In her D.C. hotel suite, she stands before the mirror, her medal gleaming faintly against her crisp uniform. Leonard sits on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through the chaos online. His face is grim. They're flooding every channel. Fake videos, edited speeches. They're trying to bury you in noise. Maya adjusts her jacket calmly. Noise doesn't bury truth. It just makes it harder to hear. So we get louder. Later that day, she steps onto a stage at the National Press Club. Cameras flash, reporters crowd, the room buzzing with anticipation. She grips the podium, her voice steady. There are lies spreading about me. They say I am against this country, against its people, against its police. Let me be clear, I am a soldier of this country. I have defended its skies, its values, and its people. Justice is not betrayal. Justice is patriotism. The room erupts in applause. Reporters shout questions, but Maya raises her hand. Silence falls. You can edit my words. You can twist my image, but you cannot erase the truth. And the truth is this. Hate loses when courage stands, and I will keep standing. The clip spreads instantly. Networks replay it. Activists share it. Veterans salute it. The smear campaign crumbles under the weight of her steady voice. But across town, Doyle stews in his cell. His grin fades as he watches her words play live on a flickering television. He slams his fists against the wall, roaring, "Why won't she fall?" Because the world isn't listening to him anymore. The next evening, Maya returns to Riverton for the first time since the verdict. The courthouse steps, once stained with chaos, now glow with thousands of candles. Protesters chant her name, their voices filling the night. Veterans stand in salute, families wave flags, children hold signs reading "Fly like Maya." She steps onto the steps, the crowd falling silent. Her voice carries over the night air, clear and strong. Months ago, I was kicked in a courtroom by a man who thought my uniform meant less than his badge. That moment was meant to silence me, but instead it gave me a voice, and it gave you one too. Together, we proved that justice is not optional. We passed laws, we faced threats, we endured lies. And still, we stand. The crowd erupts, chants rolling like thunder. Justice! 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 She lifts her medal, the gold gleaming in the candlelight. This medal is not mine alone. It belongs to every voice that refused to be silent. It belongs to you. And as long as we keep standing together, no storm, no smear, no hate will ever break us. Tears streak faces in the crowd. Families cheer, veterans salute, chants echo into the night sky. Leonard stands behind her, his voice low but proud. You did it, Maya. You didn't just survive. You changed everything. Maya exhales slowly, her eyes on the sea of candles. Not everything, but enough to know the fight is worth it. Across the city, Doyle sits in silence. The television shows her speech, the crowd, the chants. His fist almost does tremble, but for the first time his voice falters. She won, because in truth, the fight was never just between him and Maya. It was between hate and justice stood taller. Back at the courthouse, the chants grow louder, unstoppable. Maya raises her hand one last time. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Justice has found its voice, and it will not be silenced again. The crowd roars. The chants shake the night. Justice! 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 And for the first time in months, Maya allows herself to smile. Not as a pilot, not as a soldier, not even as a symbol, but as a woman who stood and kept standing until justice stood with her. The storm has passed, and justice has won.